The silence from Earth was absolute. Commander Vexari stood on the bridge of her vessel, staring at the blue planet that floated in the darkness like a forgotten jewel. Her 3 hearts beat in an irregular pattern, something that happened when she felt deep unease. Around Earth, massive ships hung in space like sleeping monsters. They were harvester vessels, and they belonged to the Devourers. Vexari had seen this sight before, but never with a planet she had tried to save. 3 months ago, her people had intercepted Earth's broadcasts. The humans had been shouting into the void for decades, sending their location, their culture, and their very existence to anyone who might be listening. It was the most dangerous thing a young species could do. The galaxy was not a friendly place, and the Devourers were always listening. The Coalition had sent warnings immediately. Do not broadcast. Do not reveal your location. Hide and grow strong in silence. But the humans had not listened. They thought the warnings were lies or tricks, or the paranoid fears of jealous aliens who wanted to keep Earth isolated. Some human governments even thought the Coalition itself was preparing to invade. Now Earth was dark. The cities that once blazed with light were silent. The broadcasts had stopped. The harvester ships had come and gone, and they had taken everything. Vexari's assistant, a young officer named Krell, approached her station. His scales were pale with worry. Commander, we should leave. Protocol says we do not approach harvested worlds. It is too dangerous. She knew he was right. The Devourers sometimes left traps or returned for a second harvest. But she could not leave. Not yet. Her species, the Zaltari, had been the ones to send the warnings. She had personally crafted some of those messages, trying to make the humans understand without revealing too much about the Devourers. It had not been enough. Scan for life signs, she ordered. The ship's systems hummed as they swept across Earth. Minutes passed. Then the computer spoke in its flat voice. No significant life detected. Atmospheric composition compromised. Multiple nuclear detonations detected in the past 72 days. Radiation levels dangerous in 16% of surface area. Krell's scales went even paler. They fought back. The humans actually fought the Devourers. Vexari felt something twist in her chest. Of course they had fought. Humans always fought. She had read their broadcasts, studied their history. They were a violent species, yes, but also a brave one. Foolishly brave. Take us into orbit, she commanded. Standard documentation pattern. If humans are gone, they deserve to be remembered. The ship descended slowly. As they drew closer, Vexari could see the scars on Earth's surface. Massive craters where cities had been. Forests burned to ash. Oceans dark with pollution and debris. The Devourers had been thorough, as they always were, but something was wrong. Commander, said Krell, his voice shaking. The harvester ships. They are not moving. Vexari looked at the tactical display. He was right. The massive vessels still hung in space, but they were not following the standard post-harvest pattern. They should have been gone by now, moving to their next target. Instead, they drifted like dead things. Scan them, she ordered. The results came back quickly. Multiple harvesters showing system failures. Power fluctuations detected. 2 ships completely dark. No life signs aboard any vessel. Vexari felt her 3 hearts skip. That is impossible. Harvester ships do not fail. They are older than most civilizations. They are practically immortal. But the evidence was clear on the screens before her. Something had damaged the Devourers' fleet. Something had hurt them badly. Krell looked at her with wide eyes. What could do this? What weapon could harm them? She had no answer. The Coalition had been studying the Devourers for thousands of years. They were machines or biological creatures or something in between. No one knew for certain, but everyone knew they could not be stopped. Young species were sacrificed to them regularly. Tragic losses that the Coalition mourned but accepted as inevitable. You hid from the Devourers or you died. Those were the only options, except humans had found a third option somehow. Take us down to the surface, Vexari said. I want to find their records. I want to know what they did. Krell protested, but she overruled him. They descended through Earth's scarred atmosphere, passing through clouds of ash and debris. The ship's sensors guided them to what remained of North America, to a mountain range that the records called Colorado. They found the bunker buried deep beneath the mountains. Its entrance was hidden, protected by meters of concrete and steel, but the door was open, as if someone had been expecting visitors. Vexari suited up in protective gear and left the ship with a small team. They carried lights and recording equipment, documenting everything as they descended into the earth. The bunker was massive, a warren of rooms and corridors that had housed hundreds of people. Most of it was empty now, abandoned in haste. But at the center they found the control room. And in the control room they found the body. She was human, female, middle-aged by their standards. She sat in a chair before a massive array of computers and screens. Her eyes were closed and she looked peaceful. On the desk before her was a handwritten note and a data storage device. Vexari picked up the note carefully. It was in English, which her translator converted to her own language. It read, "My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. This is the last transmission from Earth. We ignored your warnings. You were right. We were wrong. But we are not helpless. We will not die quietly. And we will make sure you remember us. You've doomed yourselves by letting us learn what you knew. The data contains everything. Good luck." The word sent a chill through Vexari's body. She took the data device and plugged it into her portable computer. Files began to appear on the screen. Thousands of files. Scientific data, military reports, personal logs, video recordings. A complete archive of humanity's final days. She opened the first video file. Dr. Chen appeared on screen, alive and urgent. She spoke quickly, her words tumbling over each other. "This is a warning to the Galactic Coalition and anyone else who might find this. 3 months ago, you told us to stop broadcasting. You told us we had doomed ourselves. You were right, but not in the way you think. The Devourers came just as you said they would. But we studied your warnings. We analyzed every word, every implication. And we found something you did not tell us. We found their weakness." The video continued, but Vexari stopped it. Her hands were shaking. She looked at Krell, who had been reading over her shoulder. "They found a weakness?" he whispered. "How?" "The Coalition has studied them for millennia." Vexari thought about the dark harvester ships drifting in orbit above. She thought about the silence from Earth and the peaceful look on Dr. Chen's dead face. She thought about the note's final words. "You've doomed yourselves. We need to get this data back to Coalition space immediately," she said. "Everything has changed." Vexari sat in her quarters aboard the ship, surrounded by holographic screens displaying Dr. Chen's files. She had been reviewing them for 6 hours straight, barely pausing to rest. What she was learning terrified her. The files were organized chronologically, starting from the day the Devourers were first detected approaching Earth's solar system. The humans had 73 days of warning, 73 days to prepare for the end of their world. She played a video from day 5. Dr. Chen stood in what looked like a government facility, surrounded by military officers and scientists. The human woman looked tired but determined. "The Coalition warned us this would happen," Chen said on the recording. "They told us the Devourers cannot be stopped, cannot be reasoned with, cannot be fought. But they also gave us information, perhaps more than they intended. They told us the Devourers consume everything, biomass, technology, culture, knowledge. They absorb civilizations completely." A military officer interrupted. "So we are supposed to just give up? Let them take everything?" Chen shook her head. "No, we study them. The Coalition's warnings contained data about their harvest patterns, their ship compositions, their behavior. They thought they were scaring us. Instead, they gave us intelligence." Vexari paused the video. She felt sick. The warnings had been carefully crafted to frighten young species into silence without revealing too much about the Devourers. But humans had analyzed them like military intelligence, extracting every piece of useful data. She continued watching. The next several files showed humanity's response to the coming threat. There were no evacuation plans to other star systems. Their ships were too slow, too primitive. Only a few thousand could escape at most, and where would they go? Instead, the humans did something else. They prepared to make Earth poison. Dr. Chen appeared in another video, this one from day 20. She looked even more exhausted. "Project Bitter Harvest is approved," she said. "We have volunteers. More than we need, actually. Thousands of people want to do this. They understand what it means." The video cut to a laboratory where scientists worked frantically. Chen's voice continued in narration. "The Devourers consume everything organic on a planet. They break down biomass at a molecular level and absorb it into their ships. It is how they grow, how they reproduce, how they continue. But consumption is a vulnerability. If we can make ourselves toxic, we can poison them." Vexari watched as the scientists explained their plan. They had developed a series of modified viruses and prions that would infect human tissue, but remain dormant until consumed by the devourers. Once absorbed into the harvester ship's biological systems, the viruses would activate and spread rapidly, causing cascade failures in the devourer's technology. It was brilliant and horrifying in equal measure, but the cost was absolute. The viruses would make humans toxic not just to the devourers but to all organic life. There would be no cure, no reversal. Anyone infected would die within weeks. And to infect enough humans to poison the devourer's entire fleet, they needed millions of volunteers. Vexari opened a file labeled Volunteer List. It contained names. So many names. She scrolled through them, watching the numbers climb. Teachers, doctors, construction workers, artists, retired soldiers, teenagers who lied about their age, all of them knowing they were signing up to die. But there was another list. She found it buried in the files marked with the highest security clearance. It was labeled Seed Protocol. She opened it and read carefully. Her 3 hearts began beating faster. The Seed Protocol was an evacuation plan, but not for Earth. Humanity had secretly constructed generation ships, massive vessels designed to travel for centuries. They could carry 200,000 people to distant star systems, far beyond where the Coalition had ever explored. The humans had lied. Not everyone stayed behind. Most of humanity escaped while the devourers were focused on Earth. The volunteers, the millions who stayed behind, they were a distraction. A sacrifice. A weapon. Vexari found a video from day 68. Dr. Chen stood on a platform addressing a massive crowd. Behind her, 3 enormous ships rose into the night sky, their engines burning bright. "Today we say goodbye to our children," Chen said, her voice breaking. "To our future. They carry everything we are, everything we could be. Our art, our science, our stories, our dreams. They will find new homes among the stars. They will build new civilizations. And they will remember us." The crowd cheered and cried. Vexari could see families embracing, parents touching their children's faces one last time. The ships launched, their trajectories carefully calculated to avoid Coalition space, to disappear into the vast darkness between galaxies. "We who remain," Chen continued, "we have a different task. We will teach the galaxy a lesson. We will show them what happens when you abandon young species to monsters. We will show them that humans do not die quietly." The next files documented the final days. The devourers arrived on day 73 exactly as predicted. Their harvester ships descended upon Earth like locusts, consuming cities, forests, oceans, and the humans let them. No resistance, no fighting. Just millions of infected people waiting to be consumed. Vexari watched footage from various locations. In New York, people stood calmly as the harvester beams swept over them. In Tokyo, families held hands as they were absorbed. In Mumbai, a woman sang quietly to her child as they disappeared together. It took the devourers 12 days to consume Earth completely. By day 85, the planet was stripped bare, lifeless. The harvester ships began preparing to depart, their holds full of Earth's biomass. Then the virus is activated. Dr. Chen's final video was recorded on day 86, in the bunker where Vexari had found her body. The human woman looked satisfied despite her obvious illness. "It is working," Chen said, coughing. "The harvesters are showing system failures. Their organic components are breaking down. We estimate 70% of their fleet will be destroyed. The rest will be crippled for years, maybe decades. We bought time. Maybe enough time for the seed ships to get far away. Maybe enough time for other young species to prepare." Chen leaned closer to the camera. "To whoever finds this, remember us. Remember that we were more than our final act. We were artists and dreamers. We loved and laughed and built beautiful things. But when we had to choose between dying quietly or fighting back, we chose to fight. We chose to make our extinction mean something." She smiled weakly. "The Coalition told us we doomed ourselves by broadcasting into space. But we believe you doomed yourselves by not fighting the devourers when you had the chance. You let fear control you. You sacrifice species after species to buy your own safety. That ends now, because we left instructions, complete documentation of how we hurt them. Any species can replicate what we did. You cannot hide behind acceptable losses anymore." The video ended. Chen pressed a button and slumped in her chair, the poison finally taking her. Vexari sat in silence for a long time. Then she called Krell to her quarters. Prepare a priority transmission to Coalition Command, she said quietly. Tell them we have recovered data from Earth. Tell them everything has changed. And tell them we need to convene the full council immediately. Krell looked at the screen surrounding her. Commander, what did they do? Vexari met his eyes. They weaponized their own extinction, and they gave the weapon to everyone. The Coalition Council chamber was ancient, built 10,000 years ago when the first species came together to share knowledge and protect each other. Its walls were carved with the names of civilizations, both living and dead. Soon, Vexari thought, Earth's name would join them. She stood before the assembled representatives holding the data device that contained humanity's final message. Around her sat delegates from 43 different species, each one powerful, each one terrified. The head counselor, an elderly Torvan Namajilra, spoke first. His voice was deep and resonant, carrying the weight of centuries. Commander Vexari, you have made serious claims. You say the humans damaged the Devourers. You say they found a weakness we did not know existed. Show us your evidence. Vexari activated the holographic display. Dr. Chen's face appeared, life-sized, in the center of the chamber. The recording began to play. For 20 minutes, the council watched in silence as Chen explained humanity's plan. The infected volunteers, the biological weapons, the calculated sacrifice. When the recording ended, the chamber erupted in chaos. This is barbaric, shouted a Krell representative, his scales flushing angry red. They turned themselves into poison. They weaponized their own people. They were desperate, countered a Ythrian delegate, her feathers ruffling. What else could they do? We gave them no help. We sent warnings and then abandoned them. We followed protocol, Jilra said firmly. We cannot fight the Devourers. No one can. That is the law of the galaxy. Vexari stepped forward. With respect, Counselor, that was the law. But humans broke it. They hurt the Devourers. They destroyed 70% of a harvester fleet, and they documented exactly how they did it. She uploaded a new file to the display. Complex chemical formulas and biological diagrams filled the air. This is their research. Complete instructions for creating the viruses. Any species with basic genetic engineering capability can replicate it. The humans made sure of that. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate understood the implication. The weapon was no longer secret. Any young species targeted by the Devourers could now fight back using humanity's methods. A Zorth delegate rose slowly. His species was old, one of the founding members of the Coalition. If this information spreads, it will change everything. Species will no longer hide. They will fight. And the Devourers will adapt. They will become more dangerous, more aggressive. Maybe, Vexari said. Or maybe they will leave this galaxy entirely. The humans hurt them badly. They might decide we are not worth the risk anymore. Or they might exterminate us all in revenge. The Zorth replied coldly. Jilra raised his hand for silence. There is another matter we must discuss. Commander Vexari, your report mentions that some humans escaped. Generation ships heading into deep space. Vexari nodded. Yes, Counselor. The Seed Protocol. Approximately 200,000 humans fled Earth before the Devourers arrived. They could be anywhere in the galaxy by now. Then we must find them, said the Krell delegate. These humans are dangerous. They have proven they will sacrifice anything to survive. What will they do when they establish new colonies? What weapons will they create next? The Ythrian delegate stood angrily. You want to hunt refugees? Children who did nothing wrong except flee from certain death? They carry the knowledge of how to hurt the Devourers, the Krell insisted. That makes them a threat to galactic stability. The argument escalated quickly. Some species demanded the humans be found and contained. Others argued for welcoming them as allies. A few suggested destroying humanity entirely before they could spread their dangerous ideas further. Vexari listened to them all, feeling her 3 hearts sink. The humans had sacrificed millions of their own people to buy time and safety for their species, and now the Coalition wanted to repay them with persecution or death. She thought about Dr. Chen's final words. You doomed yourselves by not fighting when you had the chance. Finally, she could not stay silent anymore. Council, may I speak? Jilra nodded. You have the floor, Commander. Vexari took a deep breath. I have spent days studying humanity's files. I have watched their final messages, read their personal logs, seen their goodbyes. And I must tell you something that is not in my official report. She paused, making sure every delegate was listening. We lied to them. The coalition lied to humanity. The chamber exploded with shouts and protests. Jilra demanded silence, his voice cutting through the noise. Commander, you are making a serious accusation. Explain yourself. Vexari activated another file. During my investigation, I accessed classified coalition archives using my emergency authority. I found something disturbing. We have known about the Devourer's biological vulnerabilities for over 3,000 years. The holographic display showed ancient research documents, marked with the highest security clearances. The Zell species discovered it first. They found that the Devourer's organic components could be disrupted by specific engineered pathogens. They began developing weapons and they shared their research with the Coalition. She looked around the chamber at the shocked faces. But the Coalition suppressed the research. The weapons were never built. The knowledge was buried. Why? Because we were afraid. We calculated that fighting back might provoke the Devourers into exterminating all Coalition species. So we decided it was safer to let young, non-member species be sacrificed instead. We traded innocent lives for our own security. The Zorth delegate rose, his face unreadable. Even if this is true, it was a logical decision. The survival of many versus the survival of few. The humans were not few, Vexari said quietly. They numbered 8 billion, and they are not gone. 200,000 survived, carrying the knowledge of what we did. When they establish new colonies, when they grow strong again, what do you think they will do? Will they thank us for our warnings, or will they remember that we could have helped them but chose not to? Jilra leaned forward. What are you suggesting, Commander? I am suggesting we have created an enemy far more dangerous than the Devourers, Vexari replied. The Devourers are predictable. They consume and move on. But humans? Humans are vengeful. They are creative. They turn themselves into weapons when cornered. And we just gave them every reason to hate us. She gestured to the display showing Chen's research. This data proves they are smarter than we gave them credit for. They analyzed our warnings and extracted information we thought was hidden. They developed weapons in 73 days that our scientists could not perfect in 3,000 years. They sacrificed millions willingly for a chance at species survival. What will they do with centuries of peace to build and plan? The chamber was silent now. Every delegate understood the implications. We have 3 choices, Vexari continued. 1, we hunt them down and try to eliminate them, which will confirm their belief that we are their enemy. 2, we do nothing and wait for them to find us someday, probably with an armada and a grudge. 3, we try to make amends. We find them, we apologize, and we offer them membership in the coalition as equals. That is insane, the Krell delegate said. They would never trust us. Maybe not, Vexari agreed. But it is the only option that does not guarantee our eventual destruction. Humans may be dangerous, but they are also capable of forgiveness. I have read their literature, their history. They fight viciously, yes, but they also form deep bonds with former enemies. They value honor and honesty. She looked directly at Jilra. If we approach them with truth and humility, we might survive. If we approach them with weapons or deception, we will create the very monster we fear. Jilra was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. The Council will vote on this matter. But first, we must verify your claims about the suppressed research. I have provided all relevant access codes, Vexari said. You will find I spoke the truth. As the delegates began filing out to review the evidence, the Ithrian delegate approached Vexari. That was brave, she said softly. You may have ended your career today. Vexari looked at the holographic image of Dr. Chen frozen in time. A career means nothing compared to what those humans sacrificed. The least I can do is tell the truth. 200 years had passed since Earth went silent. Vexari was long dead, but her legacy lived on. The coalition had split into factions after her revelation about the suppressed research. Some species left entirely, disgusted by the deception. Others remained but demanded reforms. The unity that had held for 10,000 years cracked and fractured like old ice. The galaxy had changed in other ways too. The Devourers, wounded by humanity's sacrifice, had retreated to the dark spaces between spiral arms. They still hunted occasionally, but they were cautious now, selecting targets more carefully. Word of what happened to Earth spread through the stars, carried by traders and explorers. Young civilizations no longer broadcast blindly into space, but they no longer lived in quite the same terror either. And humanity? Humanity had disappeared completely. The generation ships vanished into the void, leaving no trace. Some coalition members believed they had died in the long voyage. Others suspected they were hiding, waiting, growing strong in secret. Admiral Kreshitar stood on the bridge of the coalition vessel Eternal Vigil, watching the sensors sweep a distant star system. He was Zorth, like the delegate who had argued with Vexari centuries ago. That delegate had been his great-grandfather, a fact that filled him with complicated shame. "Anything?" he asked his sensor officer. "Negative, Admiral. This is the 47th system we have checked. No signs of human presence." Kreshitar nodded slowly. The Coalition had been searching for humanity for 2 centuries, but not to harm them. The Council had eventually voted in favor of Vexari's third option. They wanted to apologize, to offer membership, to make amends, but you could not apologize to people you could not find. "Admiral," his communications officer called out suddenly, "we are receiving a transmission. It is using old Earth protocols." Kreshitar felt his blood freeze. "Origin point?" "The signal is coming from multiple sources simultaneously. At least 20 different star systems, all transmitting the same message." "Put it through." The main screen flickered. A human appeared, young and female, with dark skin and intelligent eyes. She wore a simple uniform with a symbol Kreshitar did not recognize. When she spoke, it was in perfect Coalition standard language. "Greetings to the Galactic Coalition. My name is Captain Amara Chen, commander of the Earth Colonial Fleet. We are the descendants of the seed ships that fled Earth 200 years ago. We know you have been looking for us. We have decided it is time to be found." Kreshitar gestured frantically for his crew to record everything. This was the moment the Coalition had waited for. Captain Chen continued. "We have established 63 colonies across previously unexplored regions of the galaxy. Our population numbers approximately 20 million and growing. We have maintained our technology, our culture, and our memory of Earth. We remember what happened. We remember what you did and did not do." Her expression hardened slightly. "We know about the suppressed research. We know the Coalition discovered how to fight the Devourers 3,000 years before Earth fell, but chose to bury that knowledge. We know that Commander Vexari exposed this truth, and that some in the Coalition wanted to hunt us down for possessing dangerous information." Kreshitar winced. Of course they knew. Humans were brilliant at intelligence gathering. "However," Chen said, and her expression softened, "we also know that Commander Vexari fought for us. We know the Council voted to seek peaceful contact. We know many species left the Coalition in protest over what was done to Earth. We have been watching, and we have seen that some of you truly regret what happened." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "We have a proposal. We wish to open diplomatic relations with the Coalition, but not as desperate refugees begging for help. We are offering an alliance of equals." Kreshitar sat up straighter. This was not what anyone expected. "Over the past 2 centuries, we have continued to develop the weapons our ancestors created," Chen explained. "We can now defend ourselves against the Devourers more effectively than any Coalition species. We have ships, weapons, and tactics specifically designed to fight them, and we are willing to share this technology, with conditions." Of course there were conditions. Kreshitar wondered what price humanity would demand for their miracle weapons. Chen listed them calmly. First, full Coalition membership for all human colonies with equal voting rights. Second, a formal apology from the Coalition Council for withholding information that could have saved Earth. Third, the establishment of a joint defense force dedicated to protecting young civilizations from the Devourers. And fourth, full disclosure of all suppressed research and classified information related to galactic threats. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "We understand these are significant demands, but we believe they are fair. We are offering you the ability to fight back against an enemy that has terrorized the galaxy for millennia. In exchange, we ask only for honesty, equality, and a shared commitment to protecting all species, not just the powerful ones." The transmission showed a wider view now, revealing Chen standing on a starship bridge. Behind her, Kreshitar could see human crew members working at various stations. Through the viewports, more ships were visible, dozens of them, sleek and powerful. "You have 1 standard year to consider our proposal," Chen said. "We will maintain peaceful observation of Coalition space during this time. We hope you choose wisely. Humanity does not want to be your enemy, but we will not be victims again either. We have learned to be strong. The question is whether you have learned to be honest." The transmission ended, Kreshitar's bridge erupted in excited chatter. His communications officer was already composing priority messages to Coalition Command. His tactical officer was analyzing the brief glimpses of human ship design visible in the transmission. "Admiral," his first officer said quietly, "did you see those vessels? Their configuration is unlike anything in Coalition databases, and the fact that they transmitted from 20 systems simultaneously means their fleet is widely distributed and well coordinated." Kreshitar nodded. "They are showing us their strength without threatening us directly. Clever. What do you think the Council will decide?" That was the question. Kreshitar thought about his great-grandfather, who had argued that humans were too dangerous to tolerate. He thought about Vexari, who had risked everything to tell the truth. He thought about the millions of humans who had poisoned themselves to save their species. "I think," he said slowly, "that we would be fools to refuse. We have been hiding from the Devourers for thousands of years, sacrificing innocent species to buy our own safety. Humans are offering us a chance to stop being cowards. If we reject that, we deserve whatever happens next." Over the following months, the message from Captain Chen was analyzed, debated, and discussed across Coalition space. Some species, particularly the older and more conservative ones, were outraged by humanity's demands. They saw the conditions as arrogant, as attempts to reshape the Coalition in humanity's image. But other species, especially younger ones who had lived in fear of the Devourers, embraced the proposal enthusiastically. They saw humanity as liberators, as the brave souls who had finally stood up to the ancient evil. The Ithrians, who had always sympathized with Earth, immediately voted in favor of the alliance. The Krell, still angry and proud, voted against. Species after species cast their votes, splitting almost evenly. In the end, it came down to the Zorth. They were the oldest species, the founders of the Coalition. Their vote carried enormous moral weight. Kreshitar attended the session where the Zorth Council made their decision. His great-grandfather's successor, an ancient Zorth named Velmoth, spoke for the entire species. 3,000 years ago, my ancestors discovered how to fight the Devourers, and they buried that knowledge out of fear. 200 years ago, humans discovered the same truth, and they used it even though it cost them their world. That difference defines our species. We chose fear. They chose courage. Velmoth looked around the chamber. Humanity is offering us redemption. They could have hidden in the darkness, building an empire in secret, returning someday to take revenge. Instead, they are extending their hand in alliance. If we reject them now, we prove we have learned nothing. The Zorth vote yes. Let humanity join the Coalition. Let us finally face the Devourers together. The final vote was tallied. 38 species in favor, 5 against. The remaining species abstained, unwilling to commit either way. The proposal passed. Kreshitar watched the results with mixed emotions. Relief, certainly, but also apprehension. Humanity was powerful now, perhaps more powerful than they let on. Inviting them into the Coalition meant sharing power, accepting oversight, revealing secrets. But the alternative was worse. The alternative was fear, isolation, and the slow decay of moral authority. The Coalition had spent millennia hiding from threats. Maybe it was time to learn how to face them instead. 1 year after Captain Chen's transmission, the formal ceremony would take place. Humanity would join the Coalition as full members, and the galaxy would change forever. The ceremony took place on Zenith Station, the oldest and largest space station in Coalition space. It orbited a neutron star at the galactic center, a location chosen centuries ago for its symbolic importance. All paths led here. All species eventually came to Zenith. Captain Amara Chen stood in the preparation chamber adjusting her dress uniform. It was modeled after the old Earth military traditions but adapted for the new reality of scattered human colonies. The fabric was woven with threads that contained encoded data, every strand carrying information about Earth's history, its art, its science. When she moved, the uniform shimmered with the accumulated knowledge of a dead world. "Nervous?" asked Commander Liu, her second officer and distant cousin. Their great-great-grandparents had served together on one of the seed ships. "Terrified," Chen admitted. "We are about to walk into a room full of species who either pity us, fear us, or hate us, and we have to convince them we are worth trusting." Liu smiled slightly. "Your ancestor did something harder. She convinced the devourers that humans were just helpless prey, right up until the moment she poisoned them all. You come from strong blood. Chen touched the pendant around her neck. It contained a fragment of earth soil, preserved in crystal passed down through her family. I just hope I am worthy of her legacy. A chime sounded. It was time. They walked through the gleaming corridors of Zenith Station, flanked by an honor guard of human soldiers. Through the viewports, Chen could see the massive coalition fleet assembled for the ceremony. Thousands of ships from dozens of species all here to witness this moment. The ceremonial chamber was vast, its ceiling arching high above like a cathedral. Representatives from every coalition species waited in tiered seating that rose up in concentric circles. At the center stood the council platform, where Jilra's successor, a Torvan named Kelseth, waited alongside delegates from the Zorth, Ithrian, and other founding species. As Chen entered, the chamber fell silent. Every eye in every color and configuration turned to watch the humans approach. Chen felt the weight of their gazes, the curiosity and apprehension and hope mixed together. She reached the platform and stopped. According to protocol, she was supposed to kneel and request membership. The human delegation had argued for hours about this. Some said it was too submissive, too much like begging. Others said it was just tradition, meaningless ceremony. Chen had made the final decision. She would not kneel. Instead, she stood straight and spoke clearly. Council members, assembled delegates. I am Captain Amara Chen, speaking for the 63 colonies of humanity and 20 million souls. We come before you not as supplicants, but as equals seeking alliance. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Kelseth's expression remained neutral. Captain Chen, this is irregular. The ceremony was written for species seeking protection. Chen interrupted gently. We are not seeking protection. We are offering partnership. Our ancestors knelt to no one, even when it cost them everything. We will honor their memory by standing. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Kelseth did something unexpected. He smiled. Well said, Captain. Let us dispense with the old ceremony then and create a new one. One fitting for this unprecedented alliance. He descended from the platform and stood before Chen at the same level. Humanity has suffered greatly. You have lost your homeworld, your history made physical, yet you have survived and even thrived. More than that, you have chosen to share your strength rather than hoard it. This is admirable. Kelseth gestured to the assembled delegates. The coalition was formed 10,000 years ago on a principle of mutual protection. But over time we became comfortable. We let fear guide us. We made compromises that cost innocent lives. Humanity has reminded us of what we should have been all along. He extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. On behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I offer you not membership but partnership. Welcome, friends. Welcome, allies. Welcome home. Chen took his hand, feeling tears prick her eyes. Around the chamber, delegates rose to their feet. Some applauded in their various ways, creating a symphony of sounds that transcended species boundaries. But not everyone was pleased. Chen could see the Krell delegation sitting stone-faced, refusing to stand. A few other species looked equally unhappy. This alliance would face challenges ahead. The ceremony continued with speeches and formal declarations. When it was Chen's turn to address the assembly, she chose her words carefully. 200 years ago, my ancestor Dr. Sarah Chen sent the last transmission from Earth. She said that we had doomed ourselves by broadcasting into space. But she also said that the coalition had doomed itself by not fighting when it had the chance. Today we prove her wrong on both counts. Chen looked around the chamber. Humanity is not doomed. We survive, we grow. We remember. And the coalition is not doomed either because today it chooses courage over fear. Together we will face the devourers. Together we will protect young species. Together we will build something better than what came before. She activated a holographic display that showed the Earth as it once was, blue and green and alive. We cannot bring back our homeworld, but we can make sure no other species suffers as we did. That is our purpose. That is our promise. The display shifted to show human colonies, thriving cities on distant worlds, children playing under alien suns. We have not forgotten Earth, but we do not live in the past. We look forward, and we hope you will look forward with us. When she finished, even some of the Krell delegates were nodding grudgingly. The official proceedings concluded with the signing of the Alliance Charter, a document that took months to negotiate. It granted humanity full voting rights, established the Joint Defense Force, and mandated full disclosure of all suppressed research. In exchange, humans agreed to share their anti-devourer technology and coordinate their military actions with coalition oversight. After the ceremony, Admiral Kreshitar approached Chen in the reception hall. "Captain, a moment of your time?" Chen nodded, recognizing the Zorth admiral who had received her first transmission. "I wanted to apologize personally," Kreshitar said. "My great-grandfather was one of those who argued for suppressing the research that could have saved Earth. I have carried that shame my entire life." Chen studied him thoughtfully. "Your great-grandfather made a choice based on fear. You are making a different choice based on courage. We cannot change the past, Admiral. We can only decide who we want to be going forward." "Wise words. Your ancestor would be proud." "I hope so," Chen said softly. She looked around the reception hall at the mingling species, at the careful diplomacy and tentative friendships being formed. "This is fragile, isn't it?" "This alliance. Very fragile," Kreshitar agreed. "There are many who oppose it, some because they fear human military power, others because they are ashamed of what the coalition did to Earth and do not want to be reminded, and some simply because they hate change. Then we will have to prove ourselves," Chen said. "Actions, not words. That is how humans earn trust." Over the following years, humanity did exactly that. When the Devourers attacked a young species called the Miran, human ships arrived first to defend them. When a coalition expedition encountered an unknown threat in deep space, human scientists helped solve the mystery. When disaster struck a Krell colony, human aid ships brought supplies without hesitation, even though the Krell had voted against the alliance. Slowly, skepticism turned to respect. Fear turned to trust. The fractured coalition began to heal, united by shared purpose rather than shared terror. 20 years after joining the coalition, Captain Chen retired and returned to the colony where she was born. It was a world her seed ship ancestors had named New Terra, covered in purple forests and silver oceans. She built a small house near the sea and spent her days writing the official history of humanity's long journey. One evening, she received a visitor. It was a young Krell, barely an adult by his species' standards. He was a student, researching the Earth War as the conflict with the Devourers was now called. "Captain Chen," the young Krell said nervously, "I have read all the accounts, but there is one thing I do not understand. Your people sacrificed so much. Billions died. How did they find the courage?" Chen poured tea for them both, an old Earth tradition she maintained. "They found courage because they had to. When you have no other options, you discover strengths you never knew existed. But also," she paused, "they had hope. They knew the seed ships would survive. They knew humanity's future was secure, even if they would not see it. That made the sacrifice bearable." The young Krell was quiet for a moment. "My grandfather voted against your alliance. He said humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable." "He was not wrong," Chen said with a slight smile. "We are dangerous. We are unpredictable, but we are also loyal and brave, and we do not forget our friends." "He changed his mind before he died," the Krell continued, "after humans saved those Miran colonies. He said he was wrong about your people. He said the galaxy needs more dangerous and unpredictable species, if they use those qualities to protect rather than destroy." Chen felt warmth spread through her chest. "That is the greatest compliment I have ever received. Thank you for telling me."